Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of True Story Live. Happy to be here. And tonight's going to be a little bit different. Tonight is game night. We have a game that Jen got for my birthday, and we're just fascinated by it. And I'll go more into that in just a moment. But first, as usual, we'll introduce the panel. For those of you listening for the first time, my name is Jason, and I am the host of the broadcast. But I could not do this without the panel of people that are my friends and family and supporters and encouragers, and on and on and on it goes. We'll say hello to them. Let's start with Nez from the Nez Lover channel, also Marisa. That's her real name for those of you keeping track. Nez, take a second to say hello to the peoples, if you would.
Hello to the people. Thank you all for joining us tonight here on True Story Live. And it's game night. I can't wait to get into the card game that Jason got for his birthday. It's going to be lots of fun. Please take a moment to share the stream out on your social media if you're so inclined. And I will be sharing a few links throughout the broadcast, so be on the lookout for that. Always nice to show some support to one another. And I'm ready to get started in this game. I've been looking forward to this ever since you told me you got the cards. So that's going to be fun.
Sweet.
It's wonderful when you're looking forward to a show.
I was.
That's great. Speaking of birthdays, just real quick, I was the beneficiary of a package sent from Nez for my birthday. It was well worth the wait, and she sent a lot of artwork, one particularly for me, and there's some other things in there for Jen, some stickers and some art supplies for Jen, and some other little treats, and it was wonderful, and I think we were both very delighted by it, so we appreciated that very much. Thank you publicly, Nez.
Glad you enjoyed.
All right. Let's hear from our friend from Australia, Glenn. Glenn, take a minute to say hello to the peoples, if you would, sir.
Hi, guys. Just as I got here, less than 1 minute before the start, the Coco decided it's time for him. So he's sitting here patiently waiting for some sucker to give him food in his house.
Yeah. His house.
It's his home. It's his home.
By the grace of Coco, he lets me stay.
That's right. You're a guest in your own home.
That's it. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Yeah. What kind of food is Coco getting tonight?
He might get a dine. He might get a fancy feast.
Fancy feast. Does he have a particular flavor that he enjoys more than others?
No, he hates. The only one he hates is turkey.
You won't eat turkey?
Because he won't eat that shit.
He's like, I sleep enough.
Yeah.
No, he likes chicken, but he hates turkey.
Okay. Well, I'll keep that in mind.
See, turkey's unusual. We don't get turkey much in Australia, so maybe we're all conditioned Aussies.
Right. We love turkey. Love it, love it, love it. Jen and I on this life-changing program that we're on, we have that's one of the leanest meats that's allowable for your nighttime meal, and I never get tired of it. It's just Jen puts really good seasoning on it, and we have a salad with it, and she had the trick of eating some just off the plate and then putting the rest in the salad. So it's like delicious. A turkey salad. Fantastic. Anyway, we'll also hear from my amazing wife, Jennifer. Take a minute to say hello to the peoples, if you would.
Hello, peoples. Good to see you guys. I'm interested to see if any of you are going to join in on the game and answer some of these really good questions. You guys are more than welcome to in the chat for sure.
Yep. Yeah,
join us.
We're gonna go over that. Sure, in just a minute.
Oh, I jumped ahead of you. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Take a minute to say hello to the peoples. That's why I was waiting.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't just the regular random, hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Okay. Hey, everybody. First person in the chat was What's Truth? Hey, buddy. I like the little ghosty. Mr. Samuel's here. And I don't know if I've seen Mr. Samuel in our chat before, but hey, I'm glad you're here.
He's a Nez friend.
Ah, Nez, love a friend. Cool. Nez in the chat. Jamie Grace. Always excited to see Jamie. The Conscious Evolution is here. Hello, hello. Let's see. Debbie S is here. Hey, Debbie. Naughty Nakib is here. And I think, Burnt Flowers is here. Hey.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that.
Good to see you guys. Oh, and look at Nez. She's so good. She's posting everybody's links. Awesome. Thanks, Nez.
Fantastic. Yeah, we love it. All right. Well, now that we've said hello to everyone, let's dive into this game. So, as I mentioned, tonight is game night. We've never done a game night before, but we thought it was a good idea. Who came up with the idea? It wasn't me.
I think it was Nez.
Nez, yeah. So
Or
Nez had. Well, it was, yeah. Was it Nez? Nez, did you?
Guilty
there you go.
charge.
There you
And
go.
then I think it was Glenn that asked if we should do the show with the game.
Yep. All
and
right.
So we're like, all right.
So, Jen, would you like to tell people about the game itself?
Sure. Okay. So it is called Unpack That. And underneath that, it says Therapy in a Box. So interesting.
Yeah.
But it's a game that has a couple of categories, and it's pretty much a great way of getting to know people better. So it kind of spurs on different thoughts and conversations and maybe even a little healing. Oh. So there's 5 different categories. There's the good, the bad, tough questions, reflection, and there's a wild card deck. But the wild card deck is more for like if you're in person.
Yeah.
There is one that says create your own question that we could do. But some of them are like, get up and dance or play your favorite song and boogie. Yeah. We could do that, but you guys wouldn't be able to see it. That would be a bummer unless we all had cameras on. Right. I want to see Glenn dance.
I was going to say, you could always turn that camera on. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh, and give each other a hug. That's one, but we can't really do that, can we?
Jen and I actually talked recently, Nez. You'll be thrilled to know that eventually we are probably going to go on camera on the broadcast. I mean, we'll
fantastic. I'll do it when you guys do it.
Yep. So that's something that anyone that wants to see our smiling faces while we talk, hopefully that's something you can look forward to. But that's in the future. Anyway. So what we thought, now we can do it any way we want, but what we thought, here's the other part. Some of these questions are geared toward just 2 people, like someone you're in a relationship or whatever. It's geared for couples mainly. So to get around that, when we ask the questions, we thought that everyone could answer the same question, and you can talk about someone that you're in a relationship with and direct the question like that. Like, for instance, Glenn, when he answers a question, could correspond that to Sandra or one of us. If it's more of a friendship question or something like that, you could pick a person or do it for all the 3 other people. So there's a lot of flexibility in the way that you answer the questions. And also, we would like everyone in the chat who wants to, if you would respond to the questions in the chat. We thought it would be fun to read your answers to the questions if you want to. No forcing here, but we thought that would be fun. And once we get an idea of how it goes, we can have you guys pick which kind of card you want us to ask a question from. So the categories again, Jen, if you don't mind, we're not going to do the wild ones, but the other categories. Yeah,
the good, the bad, tough questions, and reflection.
Well, there we go. All right. Let's get started.
Okay. Who's gonna choose the first category?
Well, that's what I was going to say. First of all, I just want to say that we will make sure and say hello to anyone that comes in the chat. So that'll be the only interruption. So everyone that's here in the chat, out of those categories, does anyone have a category that they would like us to start with? let's start there. And while you're thinking about it, I will say hello to. Was Jamie here? I don't think Jamie was here earlier, was she?
Yeah, she was.
Okay, so Jamie was here, but Celine popped in. So hello, Celine.
Oh, Christ is the Truth just popped in.
Oh, Christ is the Truth. Hey, buddy. Glad to see you. I'm doing great. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Well, wonderful. All right. So in the chat, if you can think of a category that you would like us to start with, please just put it up in the chat, and that's what we'll do. I won't wait too long. If no one pops anything in the chat, we'll just pick one. You know what? For the first one, we should just pick one because I don't want to wait. Jen, why don't you pick a category? And you're going to ask the questions.
Okay.
But you can answer the question too yourself.
Okay, sweet. All right. I'm going to start with the good.
Okay. Nakib says good. So that's what she
picked. See, it's a confirmation.
There you go. So did Debbie. Debbie said good too. So we got two goods. We'll go with
two goods. Awesome. Yeah, when I always think of the good, the bad, the ugly, it always starts with the good. So it's just stuck in my head.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, first question. Right. So this will be directed at everybody on the panel, and then you can pick who you want to answer it to, because as you'll see after I read it, it's to a specific person.
Okay.
Okay, so what is your favorite memory of me? So it doesn't have to be about me. You can answer it about anybody on the panel. Right.
That makes sense. Who would like to go first?
Oh, me.
Okay, you go first.
I have a lot of favorite memories with all of you guys, so it's a little difficult, but I just had one pop in my head about Glenn.
Okay.
So when Glenn and Sandra came to visit Virginia, and I think it was before Jason drove up to pick them up. So all of us were meeting in person at my parents' house, and Glenn and I took a drive and we went walking in Colonial Williamsburg. So we walked down Duke of Gloucester Street, which we call Dog Street for short, and just talked and shared and got to see all the historical buildings and stuff at night. And it was such a pretty night. It was still kind of chilly. It was November of 2018, but that was a really, really great memory, just going on a walk with Glenn. It was really cool. I mean, I can go into more details, but I don't want to take up too much time. But it was just a lovely memory.
That's great. That's a great start.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jen. Before we continue, I want to say hello to Connection of Lives and Interest 2020, and they say they're the first time here.
Cool.
So welcome. We're glad that you're here. Everyone, please make them feel welcome in the chat. If you would, just say hello. And thank you so much for being here. Hope you enjoy the broadcast tonight. Okay. All right. Who wants to go next? We'll ask the same question, and you can pick anyone that you want to refer it to. Anyone want to give it a shot? Or else I'll go. Okay. I will make mine about Jen. Obviously.
No.
I have a lot of good memories. It's hard to pick one, but whenever a question like this comes up, my favorite memory is the day that we met in person. Like I say, there's a lot of things, but when I brought Glenn and Sandra to Williamsburg, not brought them. I took them back. I came to visit. They were already there.
Straight, Crips.
Yeah, get it straight. They were already there, but this is the first time that I ever saw Jen in person. And I walked up to the front porch, and I had got the best hug ever in my entire life. It was really, really wonderful. And we had our first couple days together at her parents' house with Glenn and Sandra. And that whole time was really, really awesome. But that was one of my favorite memories, is meeting her in person for the first time.
Cool.
There we go.
Yeah,
all right.
Weren't you shitting yourself?
Shh.
I was a little nervous.
Well, this is all getting to know. People can understand that you're a caring, kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah. I was a little nervous, but we had talked a lot before that over Messenger and on the phone and things like that.
You almost didn't come though. Putting you on the spot.
No,
you were wondering about not coming.
Yeah, it was kind of a precarious situation, and Glenn talked me down off the ledge, and
Go Glenn. Go Glenn.
It would have been really bad if there was all that build up and all that preparation. I decided not to come. Yeah, it wasn't so much fear of meeting you; it was other things which I'll leave unmentioned. Manic Mouth 420, welcome. We're glad that you're here. Thank you for coming.
Hey, Manic.
All right, Glenn, you're up. Read the question to Glenn, please.
All right. What is your favorite memory of me or Jason or Marisa? Pick one.
Or Sandra. You can do
or
Sandra.
Oh, Sandra. Okay, cool.
Or my
very
mom.
Or Coco.
Coco can look after himself. Oh, look, it's like you said. I mean, there's a zillion.
Yeah.
But the one that came to mind was when we were out somewhere in the desert in Morocco at some oasis, and we're just walking along with other people. And Sandra looked at me with a strange look on her face and then proceeded to throw up without any warning. And I do remember I was just standing there laughing my head off. I thought it was hilarious.
No.
Oh my God.
This sounds like the train story you told me where you were laughing too and something else happened to poor Sandra. Oh my gosh.
I know people think you insensitive bastard, but it's hilarious. She was just throwing up.
Did she punch you while she was throwing up for laughing at her?
Well, when you're done, we'll keep going.
Oh my God. No, Glenn.
Oh, that is, I'm not kidding. This is true. It's not some made up. This is like, what else can you say?
I wouldn't assume it was made up. I would not.
No, it's not made up. You know me well enough to know that I would do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So it was hilarious.
Did she laugh with you?
Oh yeah, when she could.
When she could laugh, right?
I was picturing someone laughing like while they're throwing up.
She's hunched over on the ground throwing up. I mean, you know.
No.
Why was she throwing up? Why?
That's what I want to know.
Throwing up.
Well, when there's a saying: when you go to Morocco, you will get sick.
Oh.
Okay.
It comes on you really fast. It can be something you ate, the water you drank. You know, it's just one of those places you've got. No matter how hard you try not to get it, it will get you.
Oh wow!
Whether it be the food poisoning, the only thing we found that worked was the umeboshi, the salty plums that you get in Japan. No, we didn't have any of them, but someone else did, and that was the only person who never got sick had them. So we used to take them.
Oh wow!
Other places, and they did work. They're really good.
Salty plums, eh?
Well, they're umeboshi. They're called. I'm just sort of that's what they taste like. Sort of. Yeah,
I'm intrigued.
So
what if they sell them on Amazon?
I think that would be there. I think it's like UMIBOSHI or something similar. But they do work. They do work.
Huh. I'm intrigued what that would taste like. I mean, the name sounds.
No, they're edible. They're not the most wonderful thing to eat, but
okay.
But they're edible. They are edible.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Thanks.
We learned a little bit more about Glenn and also a new food.
Yeah. So if any of us are hanging out with Glenn and we start throwing up or having other bodily malfunctions, we can just expect him to laugh at us. Just to be prepared.
Yeah, well, I probably wouldn't do it to you guys. I mean,
probably. Notice the word probably is thrown in there. Yeah.
Caveat.
Probably.
The thing is, if you're throwing your guts out, you're going to be okay. It's not like you're having a heart attack.
Right. Yeah, it's not like someone's dying.
Deal with it in the moment, and then it's all good.
Okay. Well, there we go.
Thanks.
Hey, Cripsy?
Yeah.
Crips, Sharon, Connection of Lives and Interests, wants to know where everyone is from on the panel.
Oh, great. I was born in Michigan, But we moved here. My dad moved us to the Charlotte, North Carolina area when I was 5 or 6 years old. And where we live now is Fort Mill, South Carolina, which is just across the state line. Probably nobody has heard of Fort Mill. It's almost a suburb of Charlotte, North Carolina, even though it's in a different state. It's very close, but a lot of people would have heard probably about Charlotte, North Carolina. So that's where we're from, Michigan, and now reside in Fort Mill, South Carolina. Thank you for the question. Anyone else want to answer where they're from?
Newark, Ohio, but I was born in Michigan, though. That's okay. I was born in Michigan, but live in Ohio. Woo! I'm sorry. Go ahead, dear.
North. That's Michigan. Okay. Born in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and from Virginia, and now reside in South Carolina.
There you go.
Woo!
And Glenn's the last one on the where you're from. I think everyone knows, but let's hear it.
Born in Brisbane, Australia. Lived there until about the last 5 or 6 years. Now we live in a place called Kandos, which is about 4 hours over the range from Sydney.
Okay.
Out in rural New South Wales, in the bush. Well, it's not really the bush per se. It's beautiful.
Well, great. Yeah, we've seen some pictures, and it is beautiful, in my opinion.
And we don't get pollution, only in the winter a bit. Some people still use wood fires.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, there's that.
All right.
Dana Eugene says, I've lived in Michigan many times, Crips. Can't stand that place, LOL.
Oh, no. I asked him why. Why can't you stand it?
Yeah, I'd like to know why. I mean, I think most people say because of the cold and the snow. And also lake effect. It's cloudy a lot there. Not like we hear Seattle is. It's not rain all the time. It's just there's a lot of cloudy days, which I don't mind. Some people say it makes you depressed, but of course I've lived away from there for so long. Usually I go to visit and I don't recognize it being that cloudy. Yes, there are cloudy days, especially when you're near the lakes because it blows all the moisture and stuff from the big lakes. Anyway, I love it. Love Michigan, but I don't have to live there. I just visit. So,
yeah, that's true.
All right, Nez, you're up for this question before you move on to the next one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Okay. All right, we're headed to the bad. Dun dun dun.
Oh, wait, I didn't think Nez answered.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Nez. You want to read it again, Nez?
My favorite memory regarding one of you people, is that the question?
Yes.
Or anyone you choose. It doesn't have to be one of us. It's just you could choose someone else.
I can't possibly pick. Oh, wow. There was a
pick
time
one of the many.
Oh, man. I don't think I can pick. You're going to have to give me a person. Give me a person.
All right, I'm going to say Glenn.
Just throw that up. Oh, a favorite Glenn memory. Wow. I'd have to say it was one of our private conversations where we just had a few drinks and had a nice conversation. That was some time well spent. That was a pleasant memory. That's all I'm going to say about that.
All right.
Getting to talk to Glenn is fun. So
it is.
It is.
It's a delight.
He's a fun guy.
No, I'm not. I'm not fun.
No.
Necessarily. I can be fun, but it's only I save that for a few people.
Okay.
That explains a lot, Glenn.
All right. That's one card down. What do you want to? You say bad next, Jen?
Well, I have to add something real quick.
Okay.
One of my favorite memories of Nez, just before we move on from that topic,
Yeah.
is the first art stream I did with her. I don't remember why, but you laughed a whole lot, and it just was like bells ringing in my heart. It just was wonderful. I was like,
Probably
I like
made
this
you feel
girl.
welcome.
Yeah, it really did.
Well, thank
It really
you.
did. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
That's
moving
great.
along to the
All right.
bad.
Give me
Let's
the
see.
bad.
Okay, guys. Question is, are there any problems we need to resolve? And that could be directed at anybody.
All right.
Oh boy.
Who would like to go
Dun,
first?
dun, dun. Well, I mean, like when I'm thinking about it, I don't think of any problems that I need to resolve with any of you guys.
Right. Well, you could pick another person then. If you don't even have to say their name, but you could talk about a situation of a problem that you need to resolve.
With someone that's on the panel?
No, with anyone. I think we're opening up to anyone because it may not always apply to people on the panel.
Like people in the chat? Because I have
No.
some things I need to resolve with some people in the chat. I mean, Debbie S., she's always here. I don't understand.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
I'm just kidding. Debbie, I love you.
I think she knows. I think she does.
I can pick another one if that one's not like the best.
No,
because we're all pretty direct with each other on the panel. Like if there's an issue, we bring it up.
Yeah, but so kind of what I'm thinking is there anyone in the world, Jen, for you that you feel like there is a problem that you need to resolve? I think that's a fair
okay.
question.
We'll take it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll share what happened today.
Okay.
So, and actually, you know what? Maybe some of you guys can give us some what's the word I'm looking for?
Feedback.
Advice, feedback.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and if please don't mince words or anything. If you guys have anything to say that might be a little jarring, we're totally open to it.
Yeah.
But okay. So we had planned to go to our nephew Finley's baptism today. He got baptized today, which was very exciting.
Wonderful.
And the information that we got, we knew that he was getting baptized at church. Like our Shannon didn't have to explain that to us. And she did mention in passing that they were going to have a party afterwards. So as you guys all know, assumptions just really make for trouble. Uh-huh. So Jason and I are learning to get more details so that when we're planning our day, we don't have mishaps like today. Right. So we went to church. The baptism went on. It was like 2 hours, not the baptism, but the church service. Yeah. And it was great. It was wonderful. We got dressed up and we went and got to support Finn. And so we thought the party was right after the church service ended. But then Shannon let us know that it was at 1 and the church service was done at 12. Yeah. And so right now with his work schedule on Saturdays, we have this one day together to spend time together on the weekend. So it's kind of precious time. But on top of wanting to spend time together, we had a lot of errands and stuff to do in order to prepare for our road trip to Virginia this coming weekend for my 2 nephews' college graduations. Right. So, at first, I let Shannon know that before I knew that it was an hour after church ended, I had let her know that we couldn't stay, but that we were going to pop by to say hello to everybody, and then we'd have to scoot. And she was fine with that. But then when we were all gathering around at the end of the church service, she mentioned that it started at 1, and we were like, oh, crap, because it was going to kind of derail our plans for the day. So we ended up having to back out and not go. Yeah. Right. And I have just been feeling so much guilt and yucky feelings because I don't like not being a person of my word. If I want my yays to be yays and my nays to be nays. Right. But because of the situation of having a lot of things to do today, on top of wanting to spend time with Jason on our one day off for the week, right. It just was, it felt a little messy. Yeah. And so I kind of like, it seems like a very gray area on how to handle this, because this seems to be something that does happen in families, like where there's assumptions or miscommunications, or even when someone is in a position where they have to, for their own benefit. And I don't mean like a selfish reason. There's good reasons. It's not like, oh, I just want to go to sip Mai Tais at the Mexican, restaurant or something. Right. There was like, important things that needed to be done today. Yeah. But when you say you're going to do something and you need to back out, of course, you don't want that to be something that you always do all the time, which we don't. And we went to church and saw the baptism. And so we felt like that was a good, what's the word?
Offering.
Yeah, that's for lack of a better word. Yeah. So anyway, I think the problem that needs to be resolved here is just, we did apologize to Shannon for not being able to go to the party, but it's one of those things where I feel like in the future, if this happened again, we would need to get more details so that we're not making assumptions about things, and so that everybody's on the same page with their expectations. So I don't like letting people down. It really, it just is hard for me. So there you go.
Yeah.
Resolve.
Yeah. I'll just add that it's a lot easier for me because I have history with my family, and you guys have heard me talk about how for a long time I was involved in trying to prove to my family that I wasn't who I thought they think I am or thought I was. And I did that for a long time, which means I showed up for everything. I stayed longer. I bent over backwards for many, many years, essentially trying to make up for my absence in the past, not being involved in family things as much, not being around. And there was good reasons why I didn't want to be around. But, time goes by, you grow up and you mature a little bit, and hopefully. And so I was trying to make up for my perception of how they looked at me from past situations. And I found out that it didn't matter how much I did, however I bent over backwards to try to be available and do things for them. They didn't remember anything that I did. The first time that I didn't do something they expected me to do, it was the way they reacted to it was like I'd never done anything for them before. Now, that wasn't the reason why I stopped proving. I stopped proving because it's not healthy. And knowing that you can't change anyone's mind about you, and that you need to be, me speaking for myself, I need to be good with myself and not be looking externally for other people's approval of who I am. And that's a big lesson. And it has helped me tremendously to separate myself from these expectations that people have. So for me, I didn't feel bad about changing plans based on that we agreed to do it based on that we thought that it would be directly after church, and we're going to do the baptism in church, and then we're going to have a short lunch, which we already had said that we can't stay long. We were just going to pop in, but then there's an hour in between. So we would twiddle our thumbs, close by, or go all the way back to the apartment and, change clothes or whatever, and then go back over there. And we just didn't want to do that. So anyway, does anyone else have a comment about the situation or?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, please go, Glenn.
I think this is one of these situations where it might be valuable to reverse the situation and see how you would approach it if you were Shannon, or put yourself, it's your child that has been baptized and going to have the party, and then someone else is, you know what I'm saying. Just put yourself in the opposite position. How would you feel from the other side of it?
That's great. I did do that. And for me, if it was my child that was being baptized, and my sister and her husband came to watch the baptism and was there for a 2-hour service in support of my child, and if they had said they were just going to pop in, that due to the events of the day, they didn't have a lot of time. And then when they got the information that it was going to be an hour later and they said, hey, sorry, we can't make it, I personally would be fine with that. I really, really would, because I am fine with people changing their plans. I'm my own person. And, even if I'm disappointed, I still would be understanding if someone had to change the plan. I really would. But that's my answer. How do you feel, Jen, answering Glenn's question? And
Yeah,
like
we were
that?
talking about this in the car as we were running errands. Like I was trying to put myself in Shannon's shoes, but I have never had children before, so
Right.
but I have a pretty good imagination, so I can
Yeah.
sort of imagine what it's like, when you have a child and they have a big life happen, and wanting your family to support it.
Yeah.
I do feel like going to the service probably was more important than the party.
That's why.
Especially if we were going to just pop by and she knew that
Yeah.
we had planned on just popping by, to say, hey, pop in and leave. Um, I just think that sometimes people's, um, we're all different. So some people may have more at stake on a specific life happening than other people. So it's difficult sometimes because of that. Someone's, and we actually got into talking about validation and external validation and internal. Whereas, if someone is wanting to understand a family member's love for their child based on how many events they come to and all that kind of stuff, instead of on the action, the actual action of loving their child. And does that make sense? It's like
Yeah.
sometimes there's a lot hanging on family functions or birthday parties and stuff
Yeah.
than what I would place on it. So, and I'm not saying that it wasn't important. It was important, but
Sure.
it was a little bit difficult for me just because I don't have children. So I
Right.
was trying to like put myself in Shannon's shoes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
It's
still a that icky feeling.
It's sticky. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, Jen, I'm interested in why you thought you were letting people down.
I think, well, one of our nieces actually texted and was like, "You guys aren't coming," and she had like a sad face
Sad
emoji,
face.
and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, oh no, I'm the worst. I tend to go that route, and I'm learning not to. Just you know what it is when it comes down to it. It's my past. Unhealthiness of feeling responsible for other people's feelings pretty
Yeah.
much. And if they're upset or disappointed, like my gut reaction is to rush in and like do whatever I can
Right.
to make it better,
Right.
So there it is.
Yeah. And I don't have that because I've already done that. And it didn't
I'm working on it.
It didn't. I know you are. No, it's not about that. I'm just saying that I learned from trying to do just that, Jen, by doing everything I could possibly do, and I just didn't like the result. It didn't feel like it was making any difference. For one thing, the other thing was I was making myself sick. If I knew that I couldn't do something or didn't want to do something, I would do it anyway, and I'm denying myself, really.
Yeah. And we talked about how there's times, that it's important. Or, there's times where you come to that crossroad of, do I take care of myself and what I need to do, or should I put that off and then do for this person?
Right.
And that all changes, depending on the situation. And there's been times we have, helped family when it wasn't necessarily convenient, but we did it anyway. But there are other times that I think it's healthy to decide, because even when we left, I told Jason, I was like, we're two adults, like,
yeah, my
we have
goodness.
our own life. Like, we went to church and we saw the baptism, like we're okay. But it's my old stuff that pops its ugly head up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really?
Yeah. And I'll add on top of that, it was a big deal for me. I have gone to everything. I've gone to all the other girls' baptisms. I've gone to vacation Bible school dances that they put on, that they worked hard on, and went to see the performance. Kyle was in a little skit once that I went to. I mean, the list goes on and on of how many things I've gone to at their church. And the truth is, there's nothing wrong with their church. I don't dislike anyone or anything like that. But the cadence of the pastor's voice always makes me feel sleepy every single time. And I think it's embarrassing, except today. Well, because I talked to you about it beforehand.
Yeah.
I mentioned to Jen what I'm talking about now. And I don't want to embarrass anyone or make them feel bad that they're up there doing their best to put forward a good sermon, and there's some bald-headed, bearded guy, like with his head on his chin on his chest, sleeping. You know, I would be mortified. So I didn't want that to happen. So for me, it was a big deal to go for a full service again, when that is not our church. And I was just there to support Finn, which I'm glad we did. And they did it right at the beginning. So, I mean, I told Jen, like in the past, I would have left. I would have been like, I was there for the reason I was there. And I probably would have just left. But we didn't leave. We stayed for the whole thing. And I thought that was enough. Really did. Anyway.
All righty. You want to move on to the next? Okay, Nez. Did you want to say
I want to give Nez the opportunity if she has an opinion to put forward, if she like.
Well, you know, life happens and things change and things come up. And like Glenn says, you just got to be able to roll with it and just go with it. You know, it shouldn't be taken, anybody should be taking any offense if plans change. And sometimes people do take offense. Sometimes it means a lot to people for you to be there. And and I'm sure you extended your sympathies, or, you know, your whatever. Sorry you couldn't make it. It's not like you guys were being jackasses and said, "Oh, screw you guys, we're not coming." You know, I mean, it's all in how you handle it. It's all in how you handle it. And if you did it out of love, then you've got, you know, you did just fine.
Yeah. Thank you, Nez. Okay, so a couple of people made comments I want to read from the chat before we move forward. Connection of Lives and Interest 2020 said, "I've lived and learned lots over the years. We be us and do the best. We be us and do the best we can. People in our lives know our hearts. If ... they have a problem with something, that's just it. It's their problem. We aren't to carry someone else's problems." Beautifully said. I agree with that completely. And Debbie S. says, "She may have just been letting you know you would be missed, not necessarily that she was upset you didn't come." That is very true.
Yeah, with the text we got from Charlie. We had thought about that too.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Oh, my goodness.
Lovely.
Relationships.
Relationships, yeah. Well, thank you guys for your comments. Are we enjoying this? It's leading to other things.
Yeah.
Okay. Jen says no.
I'm just kidding. Okay, you guys ready for the next one?
Yeah. Go for it.
This one's tough questions. Okay.
Tough
I'm
questions.
gonna change one of the words in this to make it a little easier to relatable with all of us as a group.
Okay.
What is your biggest regret in a relationship you've had?
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy.
You got one, Nez?
Yeah, I do.
All right. Go for it.
For they that shall remain nameless, that I just got an email from today, a big long email after they said they were going to be brief, which they weren't.
Not always the way. I'm going to be brief.
And it was just on and on and on. And it was just full of nonsense and assumptions and accusations and just a bunch of BS.
Oh, no.
And attacking one of the people that I support on top of that. And it was just a big BS sandwich. And I didn't, shoot off at I didn't go off like, the 4th of July. And just, just left it nice and peaceful. And hey, if you ever, want to talk, I'm here. But, left it that way. But regarding that particular person, I'm at the point where I feel bad that I took the chance and cared about them, and I still do, and I wish I just would have been more careful with my heart, with my feelings, with putting myself out there. I mean, this wasn't a romantic relationship.
No.
This was just another friendship, but it was somebody that I really, I fell for it. I thought it was genuine, and then I got accused of being ingenuine, not genuine. And it just, and I wonder, why did this happen this way? And,
Yeah.
was there anything I could have done? And right now I'm just at the part where I wish I would have just, maybe gone slower, maybe not, not believed everything, or,
Right.
I don't know. I'm nitpicking myself at the moment.
Okay.
But, right now, after getting that email, I wish I would have kept them blocked. Then I wouldn't have
wow.
gotten it.
Wow.
You're like, oh, that's your
Wow.
regret, eh?
Oh man. Oh yeah. I should have just kept it blocked for a while. Yes. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Thanks for
Okay.
sharing those.
Yeah.
You got to vent a little bit. That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, but I'm sorry that happened. That is incredibly hurtful and unfortunate that people feel like they have to communicate in that way. I'm sorry, and it makes a person, like you said, it makes you feel reluctant to share your heart with someone when that stuff happens, and that's the most
Absolutely. I
unfortunate
feel
thing
like
of
the
all.
world's biggest fool that I thought this, I thought what I thought that, and I gave this person the best I could give them. I'm not perfect. Neither are they, and nobody
Right.
is. And I
Right.
just don't like being served up a shit sandwich, and I got one today. So
Oh,
wouldn't have happened if I would have kept them blocked.
You're
Right.
like, this isn't what I ordered.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I ordered an open-faced tuna sandwich. What the heck?
I asked for the soup. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we talked about this today, Jason and I, how, after going through an abusive situation for so many years, I'm very, it's not jaded. I just am very nervous about making friends, and I don't like that. I'm like, I didn't used to be like this way back when I was in my teens and earlier 20s. I do think there was a part of me that was definitely way more on the naive side, but it's like, come on, let's find a balance in between the two. So that's what I'm working on. Like,
Yeah.
oh, geez. It's tough. Relationships are tough. And I know it's worth it to put ourselves out there, and we learn from everything we experience, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But it's still difficult, Ugh.
And Jen, as you said, that's exactly what you were talking about today, putting yourself out there and being, reluctant because of past relationships and how you've been treated. I mean, it's just, it's difficult putting yourself out there and trusting your heart in the hands of someone else.
Yeah.
Can be difficult. Okay.
All right. Who's next? Glenn or Jason or me?
I'm fine to go unless Glenn wants to go next.
Silence.
He says nothing. Okay. Go ahead. Read me the question again, please.
What is your biggest regret in a relationship that you've had?
So this is going to seem like I keep picking on the same person who's not around to defend themselves, but I probably one of my biggest regrets was my first marriage. Now, it ended up being something I learned a lot from, so probably I wouldn't go back and change anything, but for a long time it was a regret that it was my opinion that I moved ahead of what I felt like other people were saying to me, my mother being one of them, and a couple other people that just wanted me to be a little bit more cautious about entering that relationship. And I ignored a lot of red flags, which was not good to myself. It is what it is. The relationship happened, and I did learn a lot from it. And it was part of my story in leading me to Jen and being in a wonderful marriage now. But there's a part of me that regrets ever following through with that. I just wonder where I would be if I hadn't gone through all of that. On the other hand, I don't like regretting things, but as far as the question is concerned, that's the first thing that popped into my head.
All right. Thanks,
Okay.
Crips.
Thank you.
I'll go next. I have a
Okay.
feeling I know what Glenn's answer is, maybe. We always
I
like trying to
regret
guess.
nothing.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I regret nothing.
I would say, not to copy Crips or anything, but my first marriage, one of the things I regret was not seeing my own worth.
Yeah.
I think I would have done a lot of things differently and stuck
Sure.
up for myself, and maybe even left earlier if I would have had some self-worth.
Yeah.
But I do believe everything happens for a reason, and the way it happened is the way it happened, you know. And I learned a lot, and I am this person today at this very moment because of what I went through. So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Glenn, you're up next, sir.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just went and got a cup of tea.
Oh, okay, great.
Well, mine's going to be pretty obvious. It's the one that's always in the front of my mind. Crips can know what that is.
Oh, okay.
Well, now the question is, do I get through this without losing it?
Oh, wow.
Because it's hurtful.
Okay.
But it's. I'm trying to keep myself composed
Okay.
as usual. The regret is that my relationship with your mum with love between two individuals, couldn't find a place of equilibrium in the world.
Oh, wow.
Even though we weren't together.
Yeah.
That is a huge regret.
Okay. Wow.
If you want to ask me questions, that's probably helpful to some people to hear it, because these things do happen where relationships don't break down.
Yeah.
There's no absence of love and feeling whatsoever, but for reasons,
Right.
which can be many.
Sure.
You don't end up in the same place and in the same space, but that doesn't mean you forget.
No.
And it doesn't mean that you don't want to have a continuing connection with that person. But the difficulty is, in this case, is that on the one hand, I'm in a absolutely wonderful marriage with a woman who I love and adore beyond anything. And she's in a situation where I don't like to, but you know what I mean, Chris. She's not really, she doesn't have that in her life.
No.
It becomes extremely difficult for two people who really do care about each other in that circumstance.
Yeah.
If she'd been blissfully happy in a marriage, we could have done this a piece of cake.
Yep.
It would have been easy because we would have been great friends. We would have had a lot to share ongoing. But when these situations happen, there's always that double-edged sword when you, particularly for your mum. I'm cruising because I've got something here that I can fall back on in 2 seconds.
Right.
She didn't have that.
No.
So from her perspective, it was always a double-edged sword. You come forward, you connect as instantly, which was always the case, and then you have that space where you've got to go away again.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yes, it is.
So
wow.
And to see someone that you really deeply care for communicate with you just how bad it is, it's a huge regret that you can't do anything about it. What can you do?
Nothing.
So yeah, I know. You want me to shut up, do you? Or?
No, not at all.
So
I would just do you have more? I was going to ask a question.
No, please, you ask. I prefer questions because I know there must be other people out there who have similar situations. That things are not resolvable, and they never. Oh, geez, and you think, if only, it's not like you don't want much. You just want that connection to be stable and beautiful as it always was. It's still beautiful underneath, but you want something in the moment that you can share too.
Yeah.
So There you go.
What was your question, Crips?
Sorry, there's an alarm going off. I can't tell. I don't think it's.
Is it outside?
Yeah, it's outside. It's just. Anyway, my question is, and this may be kind of silly, but it's a question I have, and that is, if you knew what you know now back then, is there something that you would have done differently? Anything?
That is a very, very good question. I'd have to. It's complicated.
Yeah.
Things are complicated when two people live in different countries.
Yeah.
And they have different fundamental belief systems. As believers full well know that these things can come home to bite you.
Right.
And the third thing is when one person doesn't have enough self-worth to believe in themselves.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, those three things are, well, I mean, you can always get over the fact you live in a different country. That was irrelevant to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
People can find a way. If you really want something, you find a way.
Yeah.
But it's extremely difficult to get past the Bible thing. And it is, and I think even more, okay, with the Bible thing, I know many, many years later that it was not going to be an object. It was, if the situation had come around the second time, it wasn't going to be an issue. So something had changed.
Right.
Now, but as far as the self-worth part, I don't have enough information to make comment on that. But that self-worth and self-belief is such a huge thing, and I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Really, I never understood it until I started TSL.
Wow.
And did therapy and was living with Sandra. I didn't see it at all. I just thought, well, that's pretty easy to get over. You should just get off your ass and just do it. What's the problem? I realized that is very easy to say, but that is way more difficult to do in practice, particularly if you have if you've had a whole life where you've been put down.
Yeah.
Or you have had, and your view of yourself is so negative. It's just, I mean, your mother, a highly intelligent, smart, giving woman, a relationship therapist, and she couldn't do it. So what?
No.
What? So how do other people do it? Who don't even have a tenth of the information she did. So yeah.
Well,
Can I say something about that?
Yeah, say something, Jen.
I think it's so important for us, and it breaks my heart that some people don't find this here on this earth when they're here.
Yeah.
But people, even if it's just one person that's in their life that truly sees them and truly accepts them, and almost, I don't know if this is the right term to use, but it's like triage. Because I know for me, meeting you and Glenn, it really helped me see myself more clearly.
Yeah.
Because I just was so in a fog for so long. I had no idea who I was. I didn't even want to look at myself. And I think part of that was from growing up having this warped idea of any type of self-focus, even if it were healthy, was selfish and narcissistic. And so I went to the complete opposite spectrum and just completely ignored myself and neglected myself, which, sometimes I wondered about your mom, Crips. I just, I think it's just so important to have a person or a couple of people in your circle that truly see you and delight in you and help you understand that you as a person, you're unique and you're one of a kind and that you matter.
Yes.
But gosh, that just breaks my heart that there are people that have been born and lived and passed without truly seeing themselves and that they're worthy of love. It's heartbreaking.
It is extremely difficult to hear a broken person lose it.
Yeah.
That doesn't leave you. That changes you forever to hear
Yeah.
that. You can't, if you've got any kind of compassion or empathy
Yeah.
within you, you don't forget it.
No. You can't unhear that or unfeel that once it's
Yeah.
happened. Wow.
So, but the one thing I'll say finally,
Sure.
it's not so much a regret. It's really a sort of a thought process. How can and this happens, I'd say, with lots of people. How can a person give you so much but take so little for themselves when they're offered? Or,
Yeah.
they're such givers, but receiving is just such a difficult thing to get their head round.
Yeah.
From anyone. It's not just me. I mean, we're not talking personal, we're just saying in general. So I might address that in an upcoming show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think that's like a safety thing? Somebody trying to protect themselves so they can't receive from people? It's like you're putting up a wall to protect yourself, but then
Yeah.
the people that want to love you and that do see you and delight in you can't get in.
That's right.
I think it becomes look, that is such a difficult. I was going to say something, but I think it's so difficult. I think what happens, I think, what happened with myself was that you get someone who gives you 100% of what they've got to give, which is all any person can do, and then they back off because they get doubt. So it's there.
Yeah.
So it's like the scales of justice. Something balances in the favor of not being able to take it anymore. That it's like when you come to reality or something, your own reality, internal reality, and it's just not enough to get you over the mountain, so to speak, to be able to accept what you could have.
Yeah.
Difficult.
Wow. I am just amazed that by reading cards we can come to this place where we're having these types of conversations. It just amazed me, and I have 3 things that I want to say in response. The first one, Glenn, is that I don't think that another person can overcome someone who doesn't love themselves and doesn't see themselves clearly. The self-esteem issue is a big one. If they're not trying to work on it. Now, I know that my mother was trying to work on it. She tried very hard to work on it. She tried more than that to overcome the damage that was done to her in her family and in her childhood and in her marriage, ultimately. And it just seemed to be too much. That's my first comment. My second comment is that I think it's excruciating to see my mother struggle in that way, and to see her, her main issue wasn't with my father, but with her own mother. And she had made the decision, as you know, to take care of my grandmother before my mom died. And it was excruciating sometimes to see her face be downcast when my grandmother makes some pithy comment. And I'm just like, what's the big deal? I mean, it wasn't some horrible thing that my grandmother said, but my mother's confidence and her, the look on her face, her countenance, that's the word I was looking for, could change in an instant based on something my grandmother said. It's an incredible power to hold over someone and to have that affect you for 69 years until your death. That part is excruciating too. And there's a part of me that wished that things had been different and that she would have valued herself enough to choose a relationship with someone, regardless of Bible, no Bible, belief or no belief, was someone that would have loved her properly. And she would have been delighted by that. But I don't think, as you said, it's the self-esteem issue is the biggest thing, in my opinion. It wasn't the other things. Those were factors in her mind, obviously. But for her to go back to my dad, and she chose that, and she had her reasons. But what I see, looking back, is that ultimately she was rejecting herself, her own happiness, her own tranquility, her own peace of mind when she did that. And ended up being true because she left again. She came to her senses and left again, but only lived another 3 or 4 years before she passed on. So that's difficult. The last thing I have to say, and I appreciate everyone's patience, is that even though she didn't, in her lifetime, didn't get to experience healthy self-esteem and to feel true love and the difference that would have made in her life, but I watched, I paid attention, I listened to her, and because of that, I worked on my own self-esteem, and also because of that, I believe that Jen and I are ultimately together because of the things that she wrote about going back to that, the choices that she made in her own retrospect that she shared with you, Glenn, letter that Jen read, that my mom was sharing everything that she had gone through when she went back. And it's a cautionary tale and then some.
Yeah.
So her inability to do that in her own lifetime, it did leave an everlasting effect on other people and continues to do so. Even us talking about this now, there could be a person listening that something that one of us has said helps a person look at their own situation to see that they're struggling with their own self-worth and how important that is, not just for relationships, but for you to learn to love yourself. And something Jen said about, putting other people first, and because of her own self-esteem, denying herself, denying her own needs, her own wants, her own desires, for the sake of other people, and how damaging that was for her. That's all I have to say. But that was very moving. I appreciate you being so willing to share, Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn.
Whew. Okay.
Woohoo. Okay. Should we lighten it up a little?
Yeah.
With the next question.
Okay.
Nez, did you want to say anything before we move on? She's still there?
She's muted.
Okay. I think you're muted, Nez. I don't want to move on if you wanted to say something. She might needed a toot or something.
I'm here. I'm
Okay,
here.
cool.
It's just it didn't want to.
It didn't want to unmute. Oh, darn it.
I'm on the other device that does that. Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to say anything before we move on?
Actually, I did. What you guys were talking about made me think about the situation I was referring to earlier. And I also think it's sad that the person who thought they needed to communicate with me today in the fashion that they did, that, I understand they don't feel that great about themselves.
Right.
I understand that. I understand they have issues, problems like we all do. I understand they have their own set of problems tailor-suited to them.
Right.
That notwithstanding, I was still willing to be there for this person, just like Glenn was willing to be there for Linda. Yeah. And you can't make someone come to you. You can't make someone trust you, believe you, anything. And when they walk away from something that's offered freely with the love in your heart, I understand that pain. Different people, different situations, but I've been there. I know that sucks. And I got taken there today in a way. So I can't make this person accept what I have or be okay with it or whatever. No. It's just something that, they're going to do what they're going to do. And, you got to just keep moving on.
Yeah.
They know where to find me. They know where to find me if they wanted to speak to me differently than what they did today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Nez. Appreciate you sharing. Wow, this is really, I don't know how everyone else feels, but this is really, really good. It's really good stuff.
Okay, this is an interesting one.
All right, here we go.
Would you rather be loved, respected, or admired?
Ooh, me first. Me first.
Okay, go.
Loved.
Still my
Loved,
answer.
loved, 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 loved. I mean, it may seem like a simple answer, but sure. Do I want to be respected? Yeah. Do I want to be admired? Not really. I don't know. It seems useless to me. Someone admires you. I don't know. Not useless, but that doesn't.
It's just not high up on your priority list.
No, it's not. The respected, I've been trained to want to be respected. I mean, my gosh, in the gang system out there in the world, disrespecting someone can get you killed. The respect is very important, and it's important in Christian marriages, for instance. The idea that the man needs to be respected. That's a show for another time, but it is, in my opinion, an archaic and it's based on misinterpretation of Scripture. But without love, the respect doesn't have any weight, in my opinion. You can respect someone and not love them. I respect my father, dually respect my father. I do love him as well, but the respect is doesn't do much. I mean, you can say that you respect a person, but what does that get you? Just respect without love, to me, it's empty. So for me, love. That's my.
I'll say for me, love as well. And I mean, I guess some people could look at respect and love being separated. I mean, I guess if you had a boss, you might not love them, but you respect them.
Yeah.
But I tend to err on the side of, I feel like love and respect go hand in hand.
Well, they should, in my opinion.
Now, if it were a boss, you know, I want to be the type of person that loves all people, whether or not they treat me well or they're a good person or not.
Right.
You know, love for humanity, which includes that one person, you know, within respect. But yeah, if I had to pick between the three, it would be love for sure. I think love is the most powerful thing.
Yeah. Agreed.
Who's next?
Nez?
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Glenn.
Oh, the admire one, I don't give a crap. But I think the love and respect one is a bit more complex than might first seem. For example, you can be a child and you can say, I love my mum, I love my dad, but you don't respect them.
Right.
What does that mean? I just don't see how those two are separated, because to me, I think I'd rather go with respect first, because if it's in the way that I believe respect works, love is intrinsic and bound together with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it does make sense. Jen used an example of having a boss that you don't love necessarily, but you respect them because they're your boss. I mean, that's an example, but I very much agree with you that if you love someone, will you not respect them as well?
Well, you would think so, wouldn't you? But I know that you can have familial love where it's just, look, you say, I love you because like I said, because you're my cousin, my mum, my dad, I love my brother, but they could be an arsehole. But you could still, you could not respect them at all, but you just say you love them because they are that person. Well, how does that, see, it's not so easy, but genuine, authentic respect to my mind comes with love attached.
I love it. And respect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Naz, what about you?
I'll take love. Okay. And I've loved and still love some people that right now, do I respect them? Certainly not. But
interesting. Yeah.
I still love them anyway. Love is our greatest commandment. Whether we like them or respect them, we're still to love them anyway.
Right.
So I'm going to take love.
Right.
Awesome.
I thought can you just read the question again, please?
Yeah, it says, would you rather be loved, respected, or admired?
Okay, that was talking specifically about how we feel, not how we feel about others. Yes, I know love is obviously is always at the forefront. But I went with respect because of they were two, in my mind, bound together. Okay.
Right. And
Yeah.
and you said that. You said that's because that's the way you see it. And that's a great answer in my opinion. Not that you need to hear that from me, but the way you see it does affect how you view or your perception of love and respect. I can see Nez's example was a good one, and Jen's example is a good one. So I can see how there possibly could be respect and not love, or love and not respect. But I agree with you, Glenn, that they should be bound together. That's what I said at the beginning when Jen asked the question. They should be together. If you love someone, won't you also respect them? I think the answer is yes. I think that they are bound together. They should be bound together, but maybe they're not all. Maybe that's not the way it always is.
I think you can behave in a loving way towards everyone,
Yeah,
but you don't necessarily have to respect them.
that's true. That's true. Wow, great. Okay.
There's so many good ones.
Yeah, Jen. So everyone answered that one. Great.
Next on?
What's next? Yeah.
Okay, this one's a little more lighthearted.
Oh, 1 second, Jen. Jamie answered. She said, if someone truly loves you, they respect you as well. I'm just checking. Love is respect. Not Nakib says love is respect. Correct? Question mark. Jamie also says you can't have respect without love, so that's a no-brainer. Connection says loved. Love it.
That's awesome.
Oh, and I'll just make a real quick comment, Jamie. If you ever start a channel, I would be your second subscriber,
or third.
Or third.
Connection and I are going to make a race for it. I said I'd be your favorite subscriber, and they said, "Starling, not if someone beats you to it."
Yeah, Jamie has a lot to say. I love Jamie and respect her, and she. I think she has a lot to offer. She would have a lot of stories to tell, and she has, in my opinion, strong opinions, which are great. And she's a talker. She's definitely a talker. So she could.
We love talkers here.
Yeah, she could easily have a channel if she wanted to do so.
Yeah.
So there you go.
She has so many stories and experiences that would help people. I mean, we all do.
Yeah.
But specific people for sure. Okay. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
If we could go on a trip anywhere in the world, where would you pick? Wonder if we all thought of the same thing. Australia!
Australia! Australia! We love you. Amen.
It's about time. You finally come to your senses. Piss off the USA.
Yeah. No, that's true. With this relationship that we have with Glenn and Sandra, having only met them in person, well, twice. I've met Glenn twice, but Sandra that one time when they came for a visit. And all the time between then and now, I would love to go and spend some time with them. Other than Jen, in my opinion, Glenn is one of the only people. There's a very short list that I feel safe with, and I feel like there's mutual love and respect. And I do enjoy spending time with him. I enjoyed every minute that he and Sandra were here, even when he's making fun of American food and every other thing American, and saying that he liked Williamsburg more than Fort Mill. I'm like, what? You're crazy. You're a lunatic. But even despite those things, I really enjoyed my time. And Sandra is a lovely woman, a lovely person. The things that she said and the way her mind works, I found fascinating. And so to actually be with them in person again and also get to visit Australia and to spend that kind of time would be wonderful.
So when are you coming, Crips?
It's probably more likely now. As far as when, I'm not sure, but it's way more likely than it ever has been now that
Well, if you leave it too much long, we'll all be dead.
Yeah, apocalypse now.
That's
So
not
you
right.
you better cash in, buddy.
Yeah.
I have a feeling if we go out there, we're going to get stuck. Do you mind having
stuck.
like eternal house guests, Glenn?
Well, it is a very beautiful place where we live. I got to be honest.
Yeah.
It's great that you
We've
came. But
seen
when
the
you're going to leave,
pictures.
buddy?
I know, right?
So
Get the hell out of here.
You can stay if you want. You're
Oh, my
lucky because
goodness.
Sandra can't, because she can't walk upstairs. We can't sleep up there, or we can't live up there like we were going to live up there in the winter and live downstairs in the summer. But she can't get up. Oh, it's too risky for her. So you get the big view up the top of top of the hill.
It's getting more tempting.
Yeah,
wonderful. Sounds great.
And it'll be way cheaper for you than it is for us to come there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
$1 crap.
So, Nez, you're saying Australia as well?
You bet.
Why?
What about? Oh, good. Why? Yeah.
For Billy and
Glenn,
for
of
Glenn and
course.
Sandra.
Yeah, and Coco.
Well, I mean,
Yep,
I
and
figured that.
Coco.
Okay. What about you,
The
John?
Gold Coast is nice. Where Billy lives, the Gold Coast is way nicer than Florida.
Billy. There you go.
Billy.
Hey, what's Billy up to? Friend Aussie Billy.
He's well, thank you.
Billy.
What about you? Yeah. What about you, Glenn? If you could go on a trip anywhere in the world, where would you go? And it would have to be somewhere you haven't been. Can't say Japan. We already know that.
No, I can get it. No.
You're making the rules, Jen.
I know there are no rules. I'm picking on you, Glenn. You can say you do whatever. Really?
Interesting.
That would be Antarctica. Absolutely.
Okay. Wonderful.
Thanks, Glenn, that you want to see a frozen. Thank you. You want to go freeze, then come to Ohio and meet me. All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
it'll be warm there in Ohio after Antarctica.
I saw that one.
Be like,
coming.
You can always wear the bright clothing. I've done minus 25 centigrade. I reckon I can handle most things, as long as it's not a wind chill.
Good night to Connection of Lives and Interest 2020. We're glad that you're here. We hope you'll come visit us again. You were a wonderful part of the chat, and we appreciate you. Hope you have a good night. And also, Dana Eugene says, I got a few good friends that live in Australia. I've always liked watching things as a child on the continent of Australia. Always wanted to visit until the world went completely weird. Yeah, I got you.
Amen.
There would be some concerns in that department if Australia required, the V word. But
yeah,
what?
Maybe
Sorry, I lost that. What's the V word?
The shot. The shot.
The plunge.
The plunge. The sticker.
Sorry, I was concentrating on chat. Would you like to revisit that for a sec?
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah,
no,
you can't
just
say
what
it.
did you actually say? I missed it. Sorry.
You can't say it.
The V word. Oh,
you can't say it, which sucks because it's just
I don't think
a word.
You need it anymore.
You can't talk about it.
I think you can come without it.
Okay, well there you go then. There's nothing preventing us except money. That's it.
Yep. Save those pennies.
That much to come here. You just have to.
Which Jen looked at prices. It's like $2,000 or something per person.
It used to cost us, your mum and I, 20 plus years ago, $2,000 to fly and see each other back then. So you're getting it cheap. But I agree, it's double the price that it used to be. It's crazy, man.
I could buy a used car for $2,000. It wouldn't be much, but you could buy a used car for $2,000.
We could drive there on that bridge.
The van I drive right now only costs $3,000.
So wait till the jet lag hits you.
Yeah, I know, right? We'd be out.
Is that a real thing? Is jet lag a real thing?
Yes.
Like, absolutely, but you've got to go west.
Yes, it's real.
I've done heaps of the 30-hour flights, and you got to go west. Never go east.
What's
That's
the deal with what is jet lag actually? What is it?
It's when your body clock is so
Right.
upset
Right.
that because you conditioned to it's a day and night what's the
Okay.
word, cycle, and then
Yeah.
imagine if your day suddenly becomes night and vice versa. You're either going to your natural tendency is you want to sleep in where you were, not sleep
yeah.
where you are.
Oh yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
So, but if you go east, forget it. That the only times
West
I've
is
travelled
better.
east against my better judgment, because I had to, I've ended up when I got home, I got sick.
Oh,
As
okay.
soon as I
wow.
go west, I never get sick,
Huh.
and I feel pretty good. I'm used to. Well, I've done a lot of jet lag. I'm used to it.
Yeah.
But you just
Heard
know
it's
how to
tough.
deal with it. Like you don't go and get yourself pissed on the plane. Like fill
Oh,
yourself up
yeah.
with alcohol. That's a killer. Don't do that. Drink lots. There's a whole range of things you can do, but
Yeah.
the main
To
one,
help.
don't go east. So you
So
have
if
to
you
come west.
So if you fly out at night and you show up somewhere and your body is used to going to bed, but where you flew to, it's like in the morning, but
You
your
have to
body
stay up.
clock is still
You
at
have to
night.
stay up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
It's
have to
like, oh
stagger
gosh.
through the day until you fall asleep at 5 in the afternoon or something, or 6, 7. You've got
Yeah.
to keep awake. Otherwise,
Shoo. Oh,
I
that's
find that like
torture.
if I go through from say here to the Middle East and then to Miami, I basically get very little jet lag. I probably get nothing. But yeah, if I once I went from just Tokyo to Vancouver. It's not where was it? No, Europe to Vancouver. Went east. I couldn't sleep for days. It was insane.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Wow.
so I learned that lesson fast.
You're like, great.
Well, the
Yeah.
longest flight I had was 6 hours, and it was from Charlotte, North Carolina to California, and I didn't experience that. I mean, obviously it's ridiculous, but because it's 6 hours. I mean, it was 3 hours earlier when I got there, but I didn't feel any jet lag. Nikki says I went to Vegas and had 2 10 a.m.s in one day, so that's probably what she did as well.
Well, it's 24 hours for you to go from Australia to England or Europe. Like it's a whole day.
Yeah, it's a whole day. Yeah, whole day trip. It's a day trip. Preliminal. Welcome.
Hey, preliminal.
Preliminal.
Yeah.
Are we ready for the next one?
Well, I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready to go.
All right. This one is, what is something about you that I do not know? What is something about you I do not know? Feel free to chime in, guys, in the chat. You want me to start?
Yeah, because I'm thinking.
Yeah. I know you know about this, Crips, but I don't think Glenn and Marisa or anybody in the chat knows. When I was 13, I decided to disobey my parents with a best friend of mine that lived in the neighborhood to go visit a horse that lived on the back end of a house at the entrance of our neighborhood at the time called the Meadows. And the horse had gotten out of its pen. It was in the field next door eating grass because it had no more grass in its pen. And we took turns riding it. The saddle that we used was not a buckle saddle, which is what I grew up with cousins down in Louisiana. And it was a cinch saddle, so we tied it into a big knot and didn't know enough about horses at the time to know that they kind of stick out their stomach when you saddle up, you know. So you have to walk them around until they suck it back in and then you tighten it. And so my second turn of riding the horse in this field before we took her back, her name was Sunday. The saddle flipped under its belly and I fell off, and it was a pretty big horse. And I landed on my arm. I went to catch myself when I fell, and I fell in like slow motion. It was the weirdest thing. But I landed on my arm. It was backward, like with the top of my hand facing down, and my elbow snapped backwards. And it was hyperextended, dislocated, and shattered. and I was 13.
Yeah.
You're in that age where you're like, I'm invincible. I'll never die. And I was in shock, and I sat up and I saw my arm and I pulled it back around. And my friend saw that my arm was, when we got up, she helped me get up, and my arm was hanging longer than it's supposed to. Sorry for you guys that are a little queasy. And she thought it was just dislocated. So she's like telling me, it's just dislocated. Let me pop it back in the socket. And I'm like, get the hell away from me. Because when I pulled it back around, I could feel like the bones, rubbing together. It was not good. So I had to go to surgery in Richmond, Virginia, and pins, plates, screws, wires put in my arm. And I had to have them in for a year, and then I had to have surgery again to get them taken out. So I was going to physical therapy for a year, and it was awful. It was so painful. I ended up getting like sores, like what they call bed sores on my arm from because it wasn't a cast. They put me in a splint, and I had nerve damage in my hands, so I couldn't move my fingers or anything. And so the splint they had me in, it was one of those plastic ones that they heat up and they mold it to your arm. And I had a linen sleeve that I had to wear on my arm underneath it. And then there was this wire going over my fingers. Each finger had a rubber band holding up each finger. I looked like Edward Scissorhands, kind of. It was interesting. But it took me forever to get the motion back in my arm, because when you have it sitting in a position for a long time, it gets really stiff. And they even sent me home with like this robotic arm thing that I had to strap my arm in every day, and like you could turn it on and it would go and it would have an angle you could put the machine on so that it would exercise your arm for you.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, it was pretty bad. So I have a nice beautiful scar at my elbow, which I'm fine with, but that's not something people know. It was fun. It was kind of a wake up call to me. I think we all have those moments as kids where we're like, okay, I'm not invincible. I break. All right, I need to be more careful.
Exactly.
And I need to obey my parents. I was not supposed to be over by this person's house where this horse was. And so I learned a really big lesson. Who's next?
Well, first, let me just say that you told me that story before, but you shared some details this time around that I didn't know. The rubber bands and all the other stuff, the little mechanical thing that moved your arm for you. I didn't know about any of that. So I didn't know all of those details. I can't think of much, at least with Jen, I can't think of much that I haven't told her. So if there is something that she doesn't know, I don't know it. Of course, there may be something, but it's not been revealed to me in the few minutes that I've been thinking about it. But to everyone else, in the chat and things, I don't know that I've ever talked about this, but I was in a movie. I was in Talladega Nights. Jen knows this, but I was an extra in that movie.
And that was Florida, right? It was filmed in Florida.
No, it was here. It was at the Concord Motor Speedway, because it's a really nice racetrack locally. And it was only one day, but I was there the whole day, and they paid me handsomely. I didn't know that being an extra paid so well, but it was really good money at the time.
Surprise, surprise.
And the craft table was fantastic. You hear everyone talk about craft tables. My gosh, they had every breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They had just about every food you could imagine available. I spent a lot of time around the craft table while we weren't shooting. And I met Michael Clark Duncan in person. I saw the other actors that were in it, but I didn't meet them. But I actually met. He was in the Green Mile. He's no longer with us, unfortunately, but he was really nice. And I heard that he went out with some of the extras after the shooting was done several times and hung out. So that was kind of cool. But it was a really good experience. I do not regret that I did it. And I actually am in the movie. You can see me like 6 times in one of the crowd scenes. Now, you have to know what I look like to be able to spot me, but when you watch the movie, I can show you where it is. But I don't think everyone knows that. That's one of the funnest days I've had, was doing that. I wish I could have done that more, but it was a dream come true for me. That's all I got.
Awesome.
All right.
Who's next?
Glenn or Nez?
I'll go if you want.
Sure.
You probably don't know this one. I got up one morning at Sandra and I got up one morning about 2:00, and we went to St. Catherine's in Egypt, and we walked up Mount Sinai to see the sunrise. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
What?
Sunrise.
Wow.
Yeah, walked up Mount Sinai.
Oh. How was
And
that?
then
Whoa.
Well, I remember the comment was, how would anyone be in this godforsaken country? There's not hardly a blade of grass anywhere.
Yeah.
It's desolate.
Yeah, Yahweh blasted the
Amazing,
mountain quite
but
often.
well, it's a bit of I know Sandra she got altitude sick. I know that she was, but they give you tea and stuff. And you
Wow.
get over it.
Yeah, I did not know that. What a fascinating.
So I've been up there,
fact.
right
Wow.
up there. It's a bit of a hard trek in the dark.
The dark.
Because it's bloody rocks and shit and
Oh, wow.
donkeys going past you. And,
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
you got to be fit. That's for sure. I wouldn't do it now.
Fascinating.
So there you go. 10 Commandments,
Wonderful.
isn't it?
Yeah.
We were getting the lecture, and then we went to the church, and quite interesting.
Wow.
My goodness, how
Amazing.
desolate. Crazy.
Okay.
But
Well,
I don't think it had ever seen any water.
Glenn has been on Mount Sinai. Okay.
There you go.
That's amazing.
Yep.
All right, Nez, you're up.
Wow. Well, I met Mickey Dolenz years ago, my second favorite monkey.
Yeah.
And I had
Oh.
the distinct pleasure of introducing Bobby, my best friend who also loves the monkeys. Her favorite's Peter Tork, but she loves them all. But I got
Yeah.
not only meet Mickey, but I met him first, then went and got Bobby, and then came back and introduced her to Mickey. So it was a double whammy that night. And I was introduced to Mickey by Peter Noon and Herman's Hermits. So there you go.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice. Dude, that's quite the memory.
That is.
I
That's
think I think everybody gets one of those kind of moments, and it all
Yes.
happened that night. Yeah.
It's like burned in your memory. Do you visit it often? That memory?
The photograph of me, Bobby, and Mickey Dolenz is on my wall in Ned's studio.
All right.
Send me a picture of that. I want to see.
I will.
Wonderful.
Yay.
All right.
All right. Cool.
Great.
We
All
learned
right.
some new things, guys.
Yeah, this is good.
Okay. This one might be self-explanatory. Hold on. Let me think. I pulled a couple of them that I thought would be good. Oh, here's a good one. What is something about me that is hard for you to understand?
Hmm.
Lay it on me, guys. I'm just kidding. I don't know. This one might be a hard one or an easy one. Oh, I'll start, and this is directed to Glenn.
All right.
I'm still so flabbergasted and fascinated that Glenn, there's two things about you, Glenn, that are hard for me to understand. One is how so easily you move past things that seem to normally affect people negatively.
Oh.
You just kind of swish past it with such ease, and it's a beautiful thing. I've thought many times, I can't count how many times I've thought, how does he do that? And what was the other one? I don't know. I can't remember the other one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Do you want to be specific?
I'm flummoxed. I don't know if I could pick a specific thing, but there's been times where just for example, I've gotten stuck on things, and you yourself have been flabbergasted at why I can't just let it go and move past it. And then from my end, I'm thinking, how can you move past it?
Right.
I would love to know the inner workings of that, if you know, and if you care to share.
Sure. Well, I think the first thing is that you have to, yeah, you mindset yourself to what is really important in your life, what really gives it meaning. It's like, obviously, when I speak of Cripps' mum, I'm going to cry. So that doesn't mean I get over that.
Right.
Okay.
That is embedded deep, and that's never going to change. It's
Yeah.
the things that I just see as, if I have no control over a situation or I can't do anything, why concern myself? I can't take on the emotional burden of something that I can do nothing about. So that's number one, I think.
That was beautifully said.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
I'm glad this
I
is
think-
recorded.
Yeah, me too.
I think that the other one is that it's important that we recognise that we live in a community, and we do try to act out of the greater good, but sometimes we see people who don't. And so the next thing is, don't recriminate against people who are assholes. It's
Right.
a waste of, so move on. Let them
What
go.
do you mean recriminate? What do you mean by that?
Well,
Could you
don't
explain?
hold in you some anger or some ill feelings towards people who are assholes in the way that they live, like the way they treat others. You just, there's nothing you can do about them. You can't change another person.
That's true.
All you can do is be yourself and look to be better within yourself. After that, you have no power.
Yeah.
You really have I have no influence on you. If I say to you, Jen, you're this and that, you don't have to accept it. I have no influence over anybody else unless they give their permission.
Yeah.
That's, so once you get to that place, most things just float down the river, but the important ones don't.
Yeah, that's a great point. You have to give
Wow.
it permission, in a sense, for things that are out of your control for them to affect you.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Wow.
church.
Yeah.
That's church right there.
Wow. Because I tend to operate on the flip side of that. I don't understand how people cannot let it affect them.
Yeah.
And part of me thinks part of it's empathy, like I'm an empath, and then my past of being a people pleaser and a peacemaker and codependent. So I feel overly responsible for the things around me or the people around me that I don't have control over.
I think that's a magic word. You just said you are taking responsibility. Why?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great question. Why? It seems to be an innate part of me that feels like I need to fix everything. And I think it stems from childhood, when my dad would just like rage out and scare the piss out of us kids. And he'd be obviously very angry. And I don't know exactly, I don't have any specific memory of when this started, but I almost felt like it was my responsibility to make it better, to fix it. And that might stem from it being me believing, there were some times where it seemed my dad was upset from something I did or didn't do.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I have to fix it and make it right and make it better so he's not angry anymore. And I feel like it went from that and kind of morphed into not just me being in control of my dad's anger, but then the emotional atmosphere of my family. And then it sort of bled out into the world around me.
Yeah.
And actually when I first went to counseling as a 25, 26 or 27-year-old, when I was sharing this with my counselor at the time, Jim, he said this to me, and it was so profound. He looked dead in my face and he said, "What made you think that you had that much power?"
Oh.
And I was like, "What?" Because I never looked at it like that. I never looked at it as me thinking I had the power to control these things. Just somewhere along the line, I got deluded into thinking I did have
Yeah.
control over the people around me and their emotions. And
Yeah.
so I was constantly scrambling around trying to fix everything.
Yeah.
And it's fruitless. It's not my responsibility. And I think that's been the biggest lesson the past couple of years, where there's been moments that have happened that right in a split second, I remind myself this is not my responsibility. But then I have days like today where I slip back into this old pattern of thinking that it is my responsibility and I do need to fix it. And then because I'm not fixing it, I feel super guilty and a lot of guilt and shame.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's like the struggle between programming and what I know now to be healthy. So
wow. I'm glad this was recorded too. Wow.
It's very interesting.
Fascinating. That was great. Yeah.
Did you guys want me to read? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, real quick. I have wondered the same thing. You know, Jen and I have talked about it a few times about you, Glenn, and how how some things that it seems like it would bother most people, it's like water off duck's back for you. And of course, as I do with many things, I've had theories, but thank you for answering that, because that explains a lot and it removes the mystery out of it. And I thought you explained it very well. And what you said, in my opinion, was a very healthy take on it. And you're absolutely correct in the way that you framed it, in my mind, as to would be considered a healthy response to situations that you have no control over. Yeah, that was really good. Thank you. All right. Read the question again, please.
Oh, yes. What is something about me that is hard for you to understand?
And
you guys can go and direct it at whoever you want.
Yeah, this because there's nothing about you yet that I find hard to understand necessarily. I'm sure there are things about Glenn that I don't understand, but he addressed the one major one just now that I've wondered about. But this is about my dad. I'm directing it towards him.
Okay.
And I feel like I understand it a little bit, but the thing I don't understand about my dad is that he has people that love him and care about him and have verbally said to him, I want to spend more time with you. But yet he does not do it. I mean, he has in the past made an effort for a period of time, like my sister. She shared this with him. She said, I miss time with you. This is several years back. And for a while they had dad-daughter dates and stuff. And Shannon really loved it and enjoyed it and stuff. Now I've never thought that, but he and I have spent time doing various things together, especially when they were going through my first divorce, as I've shared. He bought all these things for my mom, trying to appease her, and she said no to everything. So I got a chance to see a couple of off-Broadway shows that came to the area. Jesus Christ Superstar and West Side Story were two of them, two of my favorites. Got a chance to go with my dad to that, and some other things that he tried to do during that period of time that I was the beneficiary of the failed attempt to, I guess, buy back my mom's love, which wasn't what she wanted. But I like I said, I do feel like I understand it to a certain extent. But if someone said to me, I want to spend more time with you, is all I'm asking for. I want to spend more time with you. It seems like I would be willing to do that. It doesn't seem like it. I would be willing to do that. They're expressing their need or their desire with me, and especially if it was my daughter or my son who said that. And so part of it, I think, is because he doesn't feel worthy. This is what I think is the truth. He doesn't feel worthy of love. He probably never has. He acts like he loves himself and things, but there are telltale signs. He doesn't take care of himself. Things like that. Like recently, so he has diabetes, and Shannon shared with us that he was having a bad night. His sugar kept going up and down, She said that he cried, which is very rare for him. And Shannon said she felt bad. But other than things like that, he just goes through life, and it seems like he just doesn't really want a relationship with anyone. I find that hard to understand, and maybe I'm just wired differently. But yeah, that's my answer.
All right. Thank you for sharing, Crips.
Thank you.
What about you, Nez or Glenn?
Nez?
She
If you're not nezzing, I'll go.
might be having issues with the mute button. Oh, gonna be that.
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Okay. One of my pet topics. Just so I get it in context, would you please read the question again?
Yes. What is something about me that is hard for you to understand?
Can I just remove the me and just make it more general?
Yeah.
People.
Yep.
So what is something about people that is hard for you to understand? How's that?
Okay, this is to do with validation. Then they need to be validated by words and not really care that much about it being done by actions.
That's a good one.
Sure.
Can you give an example, maybe?
Well, where someone is, just in general terms, where people are hanging on the word to say, for someone to say to them, "Oh, I think you're wonderful, you've done a great job," etc., and they all get puffed up, but the person who says it never follows through with any demonstrable actions towards the person to confirm the words that they've actually used. So the words are like just superficial and empty, but and that's all it is. And to my mind, it seems that I don't get it. I don't get why a lot of people hang on the very words, and they never even consider that the actions, to my mind, is what validation's all about.
Brilliant.
It's a great point.
Yep. I'll weigh in on that. And for me, it's not. I'm very much an actions person. My quote unquote love language is acts of service. That's the main one. So to me, without acts of service to back up the words, it doesn't mean much. But I definitely understand what you're saying, Glenn. Someone can say till the day is long, they can validate me, but they don't back it up. If there's a conversation, if I'm sharing something that I wish were different, and they say, "Oh yeah, you're right. You have every reason to believe that." Your dad does that very well. He validates with words and then doesn't back it up with actions.
Whose dad?
Your dad.
Yeah, I thought that's I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. He's very good at validating in a conversation. He's quick to say, "Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I really messed up that time," but then he doesn't change the behavior. So that's the perfect example of that, and it's pointless. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. You can validate someone who might feel good for a second, and they're like, "Oh wow, he's really taking responsibility," but he's not. He's not at all. Just saying it isn't taking responsibility for anything. So Glenn has a really good point. Not throwing your dad under the bus, but that is just a perfect example, because there have been more than one occasion where we've been in a conversation with him, and he seems like he's really listening and really taking things on board, and then he does the same thing again. So, of course, it's not just him; it's many people that do that. I'm sure. Great. All right, Nez, you're last.
Read that question, please.
Yes. What is something, and I'll rephrase it like with Glenn. What is something about people that is hard for you to understand? Or a person. Could be one person or people.
Well, I'll go back to the mystery emailer today. I don't understand how people can be given the love that you have to give them in however ways you give it over and over again for a period of time, and how they can turn around and claim that that it wasn't real. I don't get it. Where is that even coming from?
Yeah.
I just don't understand. And all I can think is it's got to be something within them. They
Yep.
must be projecting how they feel about themselves.
Mhm.
Something must be going on with them that brings them to this point of rejecting instead of accepting. And I just,
Yeah.
without any sane reason to do so, in my
Yeah.
line of thinking.
Yeah.
And
I just
lashing
don't get
out.
it. And lashing
Yeah.
out on top of it, and bringing other people into the mix too. It was just all of it. Just I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand, mystery email person. I don't understand.
I would agree.
I
I don't
love you
understand either.
anyway.
Yeah.
I love them anyway. But yeah, things that make you go,
Mm.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
So, Nez, can I ask you, please? So, what action do you take, or do you see as a fitting action in that circumstance? Like, do you block them? Do you say nothing and just let it ride, or do you seek clarification or something else?
Great question.
well, this person did the flip flop on me before, and it was very hard to take that time.
Yeah.
Now, not so much
Right.
because, it's happening again. So we're just going to let it ride, and I'm going
Yeah.
to do my thing, and they know where to find me if they want to stop talking cray cray.
Right.
So that's all I can do.
I think
Love them,
that's a good
forgive them, pray
stance.
for them, and life goes on. So
Obla
I
di,
can't.
obla da.
I can't control it, Glenn. So best to let it go.
Yeah. Wow.
All right. Do we have time for one more?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I know. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
We haven't had dinner yet.
Well, it's 4 minutes till, and these questions. Wow, how many actual cards did we get through? 5.
Let's see. I can count them real quick. 1, 2.
John Don says, "Man, dads are taking a beating tonight."
I think
He
6.
says he says he gave up. He gave up lashing out for Lent. I can't wait till you meet. Well, he's calling himself John, but I always called him Rob. But either way,
John Dons, I would like to meet you, my buddy.
yeah, if he wants me to call him John now after all these years, I'm happy to do it. But we're gonna have to make it out to California one of these days, so you can meet my wife. And yeah, all right. Wow.
Okay, last one. It's a wild card. Do a trust fall with each other.
Trust fall.
How can we do that
Crip.
on
I'm right here.
Our hands
Crip.
are here. Just
back.
fall.
I'd trust you. I'd trust you, despite unknown emailer.
Trust you to
Despite
drop me.
unknown emailer. I trust my heart with you, Ness. Okay.
Aww.
There you go. I'm never gonna do that to you. You can rest assured that's never gonna happen. I might be a jerk to you that I talk to you in person about, or if I bring up something that bothers me to you, that may be a jerk move, but I would never do that. I would never just write you off in an email and say horrible things about you. I say things as they come up for me, so that never happens. So.
I know, and I know that mystery emailer again has their own problems, and that's part of what this behavior is about. And it's obviously a repeat behavior. And hello, I see the pattern, and I ain't playing this time, so I'm just gonna let it roll. We're just gonna keep doing our thing. And yep.
Steve Winwood, roll with it, baby.
Right. Roll with it, baby. Yep.
That's right. Well, this has been, in my opinion, this has been great. What did everyone else think?
I love it. I want to do it again sometime.
Yeah, I would do it again.
Same.
Please let us know in the chat what you thought, how you thought tonight's broadcast went, or did a little something different. And seemed like some people were involved and some great conversations, fascinating conversations going on in the chat, and people seem to enjoy it. Wow, wonderful. Thank you, everyone on the panel, for answering the questions to the best of your ability, and found out a lot more. This is great. I think that this card game would be great for anyone that you want to get to know. I would hope that it had this same effect when you play the game as it did tonight, when it led to other things, other conversations. Now, of course, this is a broadcast, so that's kind of what we're here for it to lead to other things and to get a little deeper on some things. But that's what happened naturally. We didn't plan on that happening, but that's what happened. So I thought it was wonderful. Thank you, Jen, for reading the questions.
Absolutely.
It's been wonderful. If you like what we did tonight and would like to see it again, please indicate that in the chat. Hello to Bottle Caps, who just popped in. I'm glad that you're here. You're never late. You're always on time here on TSL. You can come when you want. You can leave when you want, but we're glad to have you here either way. So for everyone listening to the playback, if you liked what it, please leave us a comment on the video. Let us know if you enjoyed this. If you'd like to see more of this kind of thing, maybe we do a game night once a month or something. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
So Jen and I next week are going to be out of town, so there won't be a broadcast unless Glenn and Marisa want to do one. Happy to hand over the channel
Reins.
to them. Yep. So they'll make a decision about that. If they decide they want to do that, then it'll be the two of them next weekend. Otherwise, we'll be taking a break next week. We're going out of town for a graduation, and Jen's nephews.
Two nephews, yeah.
Two nephews. And we'll be coming back Sunday afternoon. So after a weekend filled with relatives and things like that, we're probably just going to want to hang out and spend some time together that night before the work week begins again. So just keep that in mind. But we if they don't do a broadcast, we will return the next week. And we just appreciate all of you, and thank you for being here tonight. Hope everyone has a good week, and thanks for just being here all the time. We had 9 to 12 people in the chat pretty much the whole time, so people seem to stick around for the duration, and we really appreciate that. So good night, everybody, and see you next week or week after next. Jen, take a minute to say goodbye to the peoples, please.
Yeah, this was really fun. I was a little nervous. I thought maybe it would fall flat. I wasn't sure. But I just wanted to say this would be a great card game for a road trip. And there's another group of cards called Questions for Humans that's very similar. I think Questions for Humans came out before this particular one.
Oh, okay.
Unpack that. So they're very similar.
Yeah.
And the Questions for Humans, they have different categories.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. But if you like getting into conversations and maybe even needing some sort of gateway into talking about some serious stuff with people that you care about and wanting to deepen your relationship, it's really great.
Yeah.
Really great stuff. So I really enjoyed it. And this was really, really fun. I love the idea of doing it once a month. But I'm so glad you guys joined us tonight. Thank you for everyone that participated in the chat. We love getting to know you guys better. Like, we love getting to know each other better here on the panel, but we really like getting to know you guys better too. So anytime you guys can chime in and share your thoughts and feelings and stories and all that stuff, we love it. So we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Night, guys. Have a good week.
Glenn, please take a minute to say goodbye to the peoples.
Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. That was interesting, different. Seemed to be good responses. It's amazing how just some questions can pull things out that you wouldn't even think of. So
right,
it's, I think, worthwhile for sure. And I did like Williamsburg a lot. The walk with Jen, I thought that was really great.
Aww.
And you know, the other thing I really liked about it was her and Jen's antique shop. The energy in there was absolutely wonderful. And I thought they did a great job in that place. So I probably haven't said that before, but I could have stayed there all day. There you go.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow.
Oh, thanks, Glenn.
There you go. Thanks.
Wonderful.
Good on.
Thank you, Glenn. All right, Nez, would you do us the favor and make any comments you'd like about tonight's broadcast? Anything you'd like. And if you would like to close us up, please, I would appreciate it. Say goodbye to the peoples.
Certainly. Goodbye, peoples. Thanks for joining us tonight, and thank you to everybody who catches that replay. And if you are so moved to do so, please share it out on your social media. We'd love that. Thank you so much. Please remember also that we are open to suggestions for topics to discuss here. Reach out, and we will reach back to you.
Absolutely.
I had a lot of fun. This was something I would like to do again. I don't know about you guys, but I would love to do this at another point in the future. That would be lots of fun. And thanks again, everybody, for being here. If you don't see me and Glenn, doing the show on next Sunday, then God willing, we'll see you the Sunday after here on True Story Live. Thank you all so much. God bless and have a wonderful week.
All right.